Hello, everyone. Nathan here. Hope you're having a great week. Today, I want to talk about the future of Ozark and development. Specifically, how do we maintain our small town feel as we grow? Because growth is coming to Ozark. In good times, growth comes rapidly, and in lean times, growth comes slowly. But our proximity to Springfield and 65 kind of ensure a certain amount of growth. So how do we handle this? Um, this is a project that I got involved in several years ago when we were working on the comprehensive land use plan. And we had sent out this survey, and one of the questions we asked was, what do you like most about living in Ozark? And the number one answer, time and time again, was small town feel, small town feel. And that's something that really resonated with me. So I sort of took that on to figure out, how do we do that? How do you grow and maintain the small town feel? And this isn't going to be a single ordinance. It's a collection of policies and priorities that will help us, like I said, maintain that character that we love so much as we grow. So how do we do it? Well, it starts with just the natural beauty of Ozark. This is a beautiful community. If you've ever paddled down the Finley, or if you've ever sat up at the football stadium in the fall and looked down over downtown and just seen all the colors, all the leaves back up the hillside, this is a gorgeous community, and we need to protect that. So we do some of that through landscaping. A lot of times when a developer comes in, they'll doze off a piece of property, lay their roads, and put in all their infrastructure. Then they'll start building homes. Now we have landscaping policies that require developers to replant, certain number of trees and shrubs on residential lots. Different numbers on commercial lots, depending on the size and location, and et cetera, et cetera. Now we want to try to save as many of those trees before they get dozed as we can, but when they have to come down, we just want to make sure that everything gets replaced. There's it gives us some flexibility additionally to do some other things. We can use landscaping in conjunction with buffer zones to create, noise. If noise is an issue, we can use a buffer zone to, mitigate noise. Same thing with, just the view. Having these landscaping creates a better visual. So the more of that vegetation that we can protect or plant, the more we're able to maintain that rural atmosphere. I think the natural resources also extends to our wildlife. I'm fortunate enough, I live, just, I don't know, 4 minutes or so from downtown. And on a simple drive downtown, I can see deer, turkey, beaver, foxes. It's really cool that you could have the activity around me that I have, my proximity to downtown and everything, and yet still have all these wildlife, and you feel like you're just living right back out in the country. That's another part of that can be protected. And we do that by creating these wildlife corridors. Now, most of these are going to be drainage easements anyway, so it doesn't really affect development. But there's these corridors all over town where wildlife is coming from out in the county down to the river. And we can protect those corridors so that wildlife continue to have these routes, and we don't displace everything and drive them all out of town as we develop them. I think I think this. I think we all have kind of an outdoor centric mindset around here, whether it's farming, hunting, fishing, just hiking. Being outdoors is a way of life for us, and so the more natural resources we can protect, the more we can keep our wildlife in town without displacing them all, the more that builds on that small town feel that we all love. I think this would also apply to outdoor lighting, which is a policy that we're looking at right now. You see these towns as they grow, and they get this kind of glowing halo over them at night. That's all that light pollution being reflected up. And the end result of that is twofold. One, it changes how you see the sky. Um, you know, the night sky is one of the most awe-inspiring and inspirational sights to behold, and to lose that over time, I think, is a real travesty. And we don't have to. You can develop and protect the night sky. You can develop and protect your wildlife. You can develop and protect the natural beauty of this area. The second piece of this is going to be how we develop along the riverfront. Again, I think going down to the river to swim, I think that's small town. That's what we did growing up. It's what happens today. We need to protect the river. We need to be smart about development on the river, water quality. Finley Farms is going to kind of test out some pretty cool development techniques and ways that they're going to filter water, stormwater runoff before it gets to the river. The way that they're going to use vegetation and plantings to absorb those oils or anything coming off the road, coming off of cars, and capture that and filter that naturally before it all gets down to the river. I think there's going to be a lot of practices that we can learn from them that we can implement as more development occurs along the river. Another side of this is green space and parks. We're not a rich city by any stretch. We cannot just start buying up land and building parks. But it is something that we have to be aware of, and it is something that we need to move towards. We can also do this by how we partner with developers to build, amenities within the developments that they're working on, so that the entire burden for parks, open space, public pools, that type of thing, does not fall back on the city, but is split between the city and various developments. We've seen some developers, that understand the value of these green space, really make significant efforts to increase the amount of green space they have in their development. Green space and parks are fantastic for your mental health. They're great for your physical health. We've seen throughout this, the COVID pandemic, that one of the safest places you can be is outside. So the more green space, the more parks that we can create, the more opportunity we have for people to get out of their homes and into a space like this. Not only maintains that small town character that we want, but it just has a lot of other benefits aside. Walkability is part of that. We've made a huge push for trails, and we're starting to see more and more trails built, but now they got to start being linked together. Again, part of that small town feel is the ability to get from where you want to go, or from where you are to where you want to go, without always having to use a car. To be able to walk to the restaurant down the street, to walk to the little shop down the street, to walk to your neighbors, a block away on good sidewalks or good trails. We have to continue to expand that effort. And again, that plays back into that small town feel, being outside, being in the nature, being surrounded by the green space. It has huge benefits. Like I said, mental health, physical health, property values. It's good all around. It's not a cheap thing to do. You got to do it wisely, but it is the right thing to do. The last little piece is these smaller development standards that most people don't pay any attention to. For example, the setbacks. This is when we say a setback, we're talking about how far your home would have to be or a structure has to be from the edge of a property line. If you look back to the mid-century, the setbacks used to be different. Homes used to be a little closer to the street and the garage was a little further back. The closest part of your house to the street used to be the front porch. So now you're sitting out there on the front porch, your neighbors are walking by, you're throwing them a wave and what have you. Now, over time, that's changed. The front door has gotten moved back and the garage has gotten moved forward. So now for most people, the garage is the closest part of their home to the sidewalk. And it creates a space, a buffer that sort of separates people from their neighbors. So we need to look at those standards, those types of setbacks, lot sizes, all that, because it all plays into how we interact. Development is not a static thing. We don't just develop and that's the end of it. How we develop affects how we behave, how we feel, how we look at our community, our neighborhood. And so it's hugely important that we continue to focus on these. As I mentioned, it's not a simple pass an ordinance and we're done. This is going to be a continuous project of making sure that we grow without ever losing that small town charm. We never have to sacrifice who we are for the sake of development. We can be uniquely Ozark and continue to grow. So I plan to talk more about some of these in a little more detail in the road, but that's the overview of how we continue to grow while maintaining that small town feel. Talk to you all later. Thank you.